you're just burned out. And now you're really considering quitting that job, that relationship, that nutrition program that you jumped on because you expected linear progress, but that has not happened. And so you're ready to jump ship. You're ready to go on to the next relationship, the next job, the next fad diet. And you're thinking to yourself, I've done this over and over and over again. How much longer can I do this for? And is there a solution? Hello and welcome to An Idol Called Food. I'm your host, JT Tapias, and in today's episode, we're going to be speaking about how to avoid burnout and thrive in all areas of life. Now, I know that's a huge claim, but here for the next 8 to 10 minutes, I'm going to break down the thing that has worked for me the best. But before I do that, I'd like to chat with you about the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Program. The Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Program has a 90-day transformation program that is helping people change radically from a nutrition perspective. What I say radically is we have people that come with all sorts of dysfunctionalities. They've been yo-yo dieters all of their lives. And in a short 60 to 90 days, not only do they lose more weight than they've ever lost, but more importantly, we give them a blueprint so that they never, ever go back to their old weight. They can sustain results for a lifetime. Go to EYBplan.com, emptyyourbucketplan.com. Start your journey today, leave yo-yo dieting behind, and thrive forever in your fitness and nutrition. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. How to avoid burnout and thrive in all areas of life. So when we say burnout, we're talking about people that are tired, unmotivated, zapped of creativity, and literally having the hardest time getting out of bed thinking that they have a whole day before them. If you've been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that feeling that just zaps the energy and the life out of us. And it generally comes as a byproduct of being overworked, stressed, disappointed, maybe having false expectations about a particular thing that didn't work out for you. And as a byproduct of that, you're just burned out. And now you're really considering quitting that job, that relationship, that nutrition program that you jumped on because you expected linear progress, but that has not happened. And so you're ready to jump ship. You're ready to go on to the next relationship, the next job, the next fad diet. And you're thinking to yourself, I've done this over and over and over again. How much longer can I do this for? And is there a solution? I'm here to say that there is that solution. And in the next couple of minutes here, I want to explain what I believe has actually worked for me. So before I get into it, I want to tell you a story and how I actually started to sort of unravel this in my life. Back almost 20 years ago, I was a personal trainer in Tampa, Florida. And I owned and operated a very successful gym studio. Things were going really well. I had some amazing clients that I got really close to. One of those clients, her name was Paula. And I used to call her Auntie Paula because Paula had, we had become so close. And Paula was a successful wealth management person. She worked for a big company doing wealth management. And we were just chatting and she was a big fan of everything I was doing. And at that point, I was super burnt out. And I was burnt out because I just felt like I was helping people and that was great. It was a very fulfilling role that I was playing at the time by having the gym, having other trainers. We were seeing people transform. And that was fulfilling, but the hours were exhausting. I mean, we literally would get to the gym at 4:30 in the morning. I would run group training classes, personal training classes from 5 a.m. all the way up to 12. And then at 12, I would grab some lunch, go lay down for a little bit, and then go back to the gym. And then we were back at 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I would stay there till sometimes 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I did that 6 days a week. And so I was pretty burnt out. And I was really considering jumping ship and going on to another career. And I remember asking Paula and saying, what do you think about me changing careers? And she gave me pretty solid advice. She looked at me and she said, JT, how long have you been doing this whole training and nutrition thing? And at the time, I think I was about 27, 28. I had started my career at 23, but prior to that, I had been a professional athlete. So really, I had more than just a couple of years in the personal training industry. I had been living that lifestyle for a long time. I had been not as a coach when I was a trainer, when I was a player, but when I was actually playing soccer, I had coaches, I had nutritionists, and so the expertise and the exposure to these things had happened at a really young age. And so I had all the experience, and then I became a trainer, and that experience sort of expanded. And so she said, you started playing soccer when you were 8 years old. You made it to, the big leagues when you were 16. She says, you've been doing this all of your life. At that time, I was about 27, 28. She said, you have a couple decades now where you've been involved in this whole idea. She says, you have a lot of expertise. She says, you're really good at what you do. She says, but that has come as a byproduct of being exposed to your endeavor, your industry. She says, if you go into another industry, she says, in order for you to achieve what you've been able to achieve in this industry, she says, it's going to take you another decade. She asked the question, she said, do you have that time? So at that point, I was 27, and that meant by 37, I would accomplish basically the same amount of success that I had in the industry I was already in. So it was going to take me a long time to sort of learn all the things I needed to learn in this new industry, create the network that I had. Long story short, I really took inventory and I said, how do I change this? And how do I become more efficient so that I don't feel so burnt out? At the time, I was compartmentalizing all these different areas of my life. I had a pretty thriving social life. I was in a relationship. I was a gym owner, but then I also was a nutritionist, and I had all these different aspects, and it was very, very draining. And so what I had to do basically was find a way, which is my number one point here, to integrate my life mission with all areas of my life. So every aspect of my life basically had the same theme. Even though I was a coach at the gym, I decided that I wanted to edify and strengthen people, motivate people through just the way I lived. And so the theme became, I'm a coach, and I'm a coach everywhere. So I took that to the gym, I took that into my relationships, I took that into all aspects of my life. And so the number one point to avoid burnout and to be able to thrive in all areas, number one is to integrate your life mission, your marriage, your parenting, your vocation, your education, to one theme and one theme alone. Maybe for you it's, maybe you're a doctor and so you're a healer, and now you're just not a healer at the hospital, but you're a healer everywhere you go, right? And you have that expertise and you have that knowledge and you share that knowledge, and that's how you bring blessings to the world. But you don't just segment that to work, right? You're not just a doctor when you're getting paid, or you're just not a lawyer when you're at the office solving someone's, issues with the law, right? You integrate that into all aspects of your life. So for me, I became a coach in all areas. I became someone who was willing to edify people in all areas. Number two, this requires a growth mindset. In other words, your mind, body, and spirit, you have to be willing to excel in every single one of those areas consistently. The mind is that processing system. There's many ways to grow mentally. Obviously, there's the academic approach, but the one that worked the best for me was actually taking courses, continuing to grow, the whole continuing education, reading, listening to podcasts consistently, being very intentional with those aspects of growth. And so instead of listening to music when I'm working out, I'm listening to a business podcast or a spiritual podcast. I'm really, really hyper-focused on growing my mind, but then also I'm interested in growing my body and getting stronger and getting healthier and understanding the different functions of my body so that I can perform at the best, at my best. Also, from a spiritual perspective, which I truly believe is the thing that really is a catalyst to everything else working in your life, is growing in that area of spirituality. As a Christian, I think there's three fundamental things that happen for Christians. You learn about God, you understand that there is a God. Number two, you go into what basically the church teaches you, which is the discipleship aspect, and you learn how to read your Bible and fast and pray and go to church, and you do your offerings and your tithes and all the things that the church teaches you. Number three, when you kind of get through those steps, maybe you start serving inside of the church, and for most Christians, that's where it ends, right? It's those three steps. But one of the things I learned and that allowed me to move forward spiritually and grow spiritually was the idea that all three of those things are important and they work in that sequence, but that there is another, 4 steps to that. So a total of 7 steps in your spiritual growth. And step number 4 is hitting a wall, and it's kind of going into a spiritual crisis and being disappointed by what the church has to offer. And I know that sounds a little morbid, but hear me out. When you get to that point of like, is this all there is to know? You start to understand that every single aspect of your life, all the adversity, all the things that happen are actually there very providentially. They're intentionally set there to help you grow beyond the sort of extrinsic things that spirituality has to teach you. So all the things that you learn through your mind, there's this internal relationship that starts to develop as you get disappointed with certain areas, and those disappointments are there intentionally to help you grow. And when you embrace them, you continue to grow spiritually. You become very introspective. You start to understand intrinsically what that relationship with God is, and that's something that you can't really articulate. It's just an intrinsic relationship that's there. And once you feel that way, now you can go out into the world and actually shine a light on the world without being transactional. You're basically serving from a place of just giving, and you're not expecting anything back. And then that step number 7, that last step, one of my mentors says that you don't get to that step. He says at least he hasn't seen anyone get to step 7 before the age of 80. And that is kind of these people that have lived and they've submitted their lives to God. They've wanted to glorify God in all areas of life. They've sort of subjugated the flesh completely in order to glorify God. And these people are rare, but when you're in their presence, there's just a peace about them that you can't really even articulate. But it takes going through all that process. And so being able to integrate your life mission, being able to have that growth mindset that says you're growing your mind, you're growing your body, and more importantly, you're growing your spiritual aspect. And then lastly, number 3 is understanding the gifts that you have, your gifts, your talents, the things that you were given to actually bless this world. Every single one of us has something to bring to this world. All the talents are different, and it's important for you to understand what am I, and be very honest with yourself and say, what is it that I'm really good at? What is the gift that I've been given to shine a light in this very dark world? And understanding that, and as the Apostle Paul says to Timothy, he says, fan the flame, meaning that if you know that you're talented at something, you want to really double down on that thing. And stop being just open to all the opportunities and possibilities, and simply stick to the thing that you're very, very good at. Develop at that. If you're a teacher, then you're a teacher. If you're an encourager, you're an encourager. If you have the ability to really build rapport with kids, then that's your thing. If you have the ability to be a facilitator when there's difficult conversations with in a marriage, and you can facilitate that, and you have the ability to do that, then that's where you need to fan the flame, right? You need to grow in those areas. And so 3 very important aspects that will allow you to avoid burnout are, number 1, integrating your life mission to all aspects of your life. Number 2, having a growth mindset, growing in your mind, your body, and your spirit. Number 3 is understanding those gifts and fanning the flame so that you can continue to grow in those aspects. When you integrate all of those things and you show up in the world as that theme that you have, you are a coach, you're a healer, you're an encourager, whatever it is for you, and you actually go into all areas of life with that one theme, then you're not compartmentalizing all these areas, and you're feeling pulled and tugged from all these different areas, and you're feeling tired, frustrated, stressed, and all the things that maybe you're experiencing now. What I've just said is not easy, but with a systematic approach, number 1, integrating that mission. Number 2, having that growth mindset. And number 3, being patient and understanding that getting good at something requires patience, requires consistency. If you can do that consistently and you can view it from that perspective, you can have that framework around it, then I truly believe that burnout will be a thing of the past, and that you'll live a very intentional life, and you'll be a light in the midst of darkness.